I've been getting a lot of questions about both of these new bikes and how they compare to each other. This is the ETM RTR by Electro & Co. And this is the new Rawrr Mantis Mini R17, which is the newer 72 volt version of the previous Mantis Mini with the 17-inch front and 14-inch rear wheel set. I think both of these are great bikes, but I believe they're built for a slightly different purpose. So I've had both of these bikes for over a month now, so I've got a pretty good feel for their strengths and weaknesses, but I'm just gonna jump straight into the riding footage, then we'll come back to the garage later on so we can go over all those details, and hopefully I can help you figure out which bike might be better suited for you. Out here on the brand new Rawrr Mantis R. Dude, that looks proper. You gotta get yourself one of those things.
Yeah, it feels just natural.
Yeah, I'm here on the Rawrr Mantis Mini. This is the R spec, that's a 72 volt. I got the 17-inch front wheel, 14-inch rear, which is the R17 upgrade. Justin's over here on the Electro & Co. ETM RTR, also a 72 volt bike that puts out 8 kilowatts. This one, I think, goes around 45 miles per hour. That one hits around 55.
That's fast, man. It's just fun, you know?
Cruising at about 45 miles per hour right now. Obviously the bike's not going to be as fast as the ETM RTRs. That bike kind of makes ridiculous power. All right, let's see how it does off-road. Gotta love pit bikes, man. Is that a trap of some sort?
It's something. I don't know. It's something for clamps. I'm gonna move it out of the way.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
I'll use it around this side.
Well, you want to switch?
Yeah.
Let me know what you think of it. Man, the RTR is powerful. You look like you're having so much fun on that thing.
That's all that. You can carry a lot of speed.
Oh yeah, you're getting faster and faster with every lap.
Yeah.
And thanks for crashing my brand new bike.
Dude, that's a fun loop.
It's a fun loop. We got to wear it in. You ride quicker on that than you do on this.
It's because the suspension just seems to soak it up more, so I feel a little more confident, you know what I'm saying? It's a little more plush and confident firing when you're going over all the oscillations and stuff.
So you like how it rides?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's also got the 17-inch wheel set, which probably, right.
Yeah.
That bike is like amped up and excited,
Right.
ready to freaking accelerate hard, but it's a little bit rough on your ass when you're sitting down and you're riding like basic trails.
Yeah, yeah.
This one's like a pretty decent balance. With the bigger wheels, it gives it so much ground clearance.
Right, right.
And it's very comfortable to ride off-road. Even though that bike has more power, you look like you ride faster in this.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'd say so. We should try to go along the
power line?
yeah, let's just,
You want to do it?
yeah.
All right.
See if we can even do it.
All right, I'm hopping back on the Mantis though. I don't think we're gonna do this, dude. All right, since we got the larger wheel set, I guess we're gonna attempt to do some enduro here. Well, good news is these are pit bikes, so we can just pick them up. I'm not even gonna try riding that shit. Oh. All right, so that is one thing that I forgot to talk about is this bike actually has a magnetic kill switch. So if your kid's riding this on a motocross track and he falls off and he has a strap to him, the bike doesn't just keep going. It actually completely shuts the throttle off when the magnetic switch falls off. But in this use case scenario where you're riding in the woods and it gets caught in a branch, that is the downside of it. So I might completely disable that if this is what we're gonna be riding for, but I gotta ask Milo what he wants to do with this bike.
This is so uncharted, it's great.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, and you decide to do it on our tiniest bikes available.
Yeah. Let's see if we can make it to the road.
You son of a... All right, best thing about pit bikes, we can make it through pretty much anything. All right, well, after today's ride, this might have to be my bike. It's gonna be all banged up by the end of the day.
This is some endurance shit, man.
I don't think he realizes that the ETM RTR is not an enduro bike. Look at the freaking RTR, man. That's a brand new bike. I have less than 10 miles on this bike, and this is what it looks like.
You want to test them, man. Yeah, actually, it does pretty good. Dude, I think we can get across. This is an adventure.
All right, guys, we found out today that pit bikes are not great enduro bikes. I don't know, would you do that again?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Man, these things are so much fun. We're just slinging a bunch of mud around.
I don't know what I smacked, but I smacked something.
All right, now let's talk about how these two bikes compare to each other as far as specs, what I like and don't like about both bikes, and which one I believe is the better bike for me. Let's start off with the speed and the power, since that seems to be the most popular question about these two bikes. The Mantis, I've been able to GPS it at 45.2 miles per hour with the 17-inch wheel set. If you got the model, the regular R model with a 14 front and 12-inch rear wheel, I've seen that top off at around 41 miles per hour. The ETM RTR, I've been able to get a little over 55 miles per hour. Just for some perspective, I'm 180 pounds. And this thing has no problem getting me to 55 on mode 3. Now, the downside of the ETM RTR, if you're getting this for a kid, is on all 3 modes here, the top speed is actually the same. It's just a matter of how much power the controller is actually sending to the motor. I believe on the slowest setting, it still puts out around 4,000 watts, where in this case with the Mantis R on mode 1, the top speed is around 25 miles per hour. Yeah, so on mode 1, it's 25 miles per hour. Mode 2, is 38, and in mode 3, it shows 47 miles per hour without load on it, but really with my weight, it's about 45 miles per hour. So if you have a little kid that's just learning, the regular Mantis R might be better suited for him, and then you can just turn up the power over time as it gets more experience. Next thing I want to mention is the drivetrain noise. Even though the Mantis R may have sounded a little bit loud there in the garage, just free spinning it, when you're riding both of these bikes, the Mantis is actually noticeably quieter. That is one thing I'm not such a big fan of with the RTR is the drivetrain noise. It just sounds a little tingy and loud. It doesn't really bother me too much, but I just happened to notice it after hopping on the Mantis. And next thing I want to talk about is the suspension, which I believe is the biggest weak point of the Rawrr Mantis R, at least for an adult rider. Like myself, it comes with the KKE suspension, which is adjustable for the rear, not adjustable on the front. And there are no clickers or any sort of adjustments for the fork. There is preload and rebound adjustable for the rear though, but this bike is rated for a payload capacity of 165 pounds. I've ridden this bike on some pretty rough trails in the past, and being at 180 pounds, I definitely bottomed out the fork quite a bit. So I don't really recommend this bike for anybody that weighs over 160 pounds. Just to show you what I mean, here's my buddy Robbie, who's 190 pounds riding the Mantis R. And as you can see, the suspension is squatting quite a bit, going over some light bumps. And then here's what he looks like on the ETM RTR, going through the same exact path. So you can see it looks a lot smoother since the suspension is doing its work and able to take its weight. The RTR, however, was on the opposite side of the spectrum. When I first got this bike, I thought it actually rode pretty stiff right out of the box, but I reached out to Austin and he actually helped me figure out some settings for the clickers to get it a little bit more dialed in for my liking as far as compression, rebound, preloaded and whatnot, and it rides a lot smoother in the dirt now. And overall, the fork just seems a lot heavier duty than the Rawrr fork. That is definitely one of my favorite things about the ETM RTR is the suspension. It just feels beefy and that it can take quite a bit of abuse. I kind of wish they had an option for this bike to come standard with a 17-inch front and 14-inch wheel set though. I think you have to purchase it separately for around 300 bucks, where if you got a R17, it would already come with it for $25.99. Or if you have the regular Mantis R, you can also purchase the separate wheel set for around 300 bucks and just change them out later. Next thing I want to talk about is the riding position. As an adult rider, the ETM RTR is definitely going to be a lot more comfortable. As far as the distance between the peg and the top of the seat, there's a lot more room there in comparison to the Mantis R, which is probably better suited for kids. When I'm sitting on there, I just feel a little bit cramped when I have my feet on the pegs. The distance between the top of the seat and the peg is just a lot smaller. The handlebars are also a lot more narrow in comparison to that bike. So you can already tell just from the dimensions of the frame and all the components that this is more suited for a younger child in comparison to that bike. Handlebar end to end on the Mantis is 26 inches, while the RTR measures out to be 30 inches. So I'm just a lot more comfortable with this bike since I'm a little bit more used to riding things like my Talaria. I just feel a little bit more at home with the riding position on the RTR. Now let's check out the brakes on both bikes. Similar size rotors, front and rear, similar size calipers as well. The brake levers are almost just traditional mountain bike levers on the Rawrr, and then just slightly heavier duty on the RTR. But check out these brake lines. is definitely a lot beefier on the RTR in comparison to these standard mountain brake lines on the Mantis. As far as brake feel though, I do like the levers on the Mantis. You can just one finger it and really modulate it pretty easily. Next thing I want to go over is battery capacity. The Mantis R comes standard with a 20 amp hour lithium battery pack. You can see it right here. It's under the seat. Same thing with the RTR, though that comes standard with a 25 amp hour. I think frame spacing for a battery is the biggest weak point of the Mantis R for me, because this is as much battery as I think you can fit under the seat. So 20 amp hour isn't really that much nowadays. Meanwhile, the RTR's frame has enough space for a 35 or even a 45 amp hour battery pack upgrade, which is insane because that would be more than double what the Mantis could take. But if you are looking for a pit bike with an extremely high battery capacity, that has a lot more room than the Mantis. Speaking of upgrades, that is another downside that I found with the Mantis R and R17 is there isn't really anything out currently that I've found so far for this bike. Meanwhile, the RTR has battery upgrades. I think there's a controller upgrade coming out. I obviously already have a custom seat cover from Bolts & Volts on there. Electro also has a bunch of different graphics kits, handlebar upgrades, sprocket upgrades, different wheel sets. They even have a Supermoto wheel set. So if you're a tinkering addict like me, the RTR might be the better option for you. Comment below which bike you think is better for you and why. If you want to get more information on the Rawrr Mantis R, R17, or the ETM RTR, I'll have a link for both listings in the description below. If you found today's video helpful in any way, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you like this kind of content, want to keep up with some of my bikes, some of my projects, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn your bell notification on. But this is going to be it for today. Thank you for watching.